I'm Zach with Competitive Cyclist, and this is the all-new 11-speed Shimano Dura-Ace 9000. At the outset, Shimano engineers made it very clear that the goals of the 9000 series were to retain the lightness of 7900 while revisiting the snappy, crisp, and confident shifting that we experienced with the 7800 series of Dura-Ace. However, I found this group set to be more than just a return to form. It's also packed with a bevy of significant improvements, from the precision of the shifts to the braking power and the modulation, both of which are especially noticeable when you're on the hoods. So if you've already read plenty about the Dura-Ace story, you probably just want to know how it rides. So let's jump right into it. Starting with the shifters, Shimano made a number of market improvements to both the ergonomics and the shift quality right here in the cockpit. The first is the ergonomics of the hoods themselves. They feel much more natural in gripping. They're less squared off than what we've seen in both the electric and the previous 7900 versions, and make for a more seamless transition between the flats and riding in the hoods. You'll also notice that the braking levers themselves are now scalloped, giving you two excellent grip positions for fingers when braking on the hoods and in the drops. One of the slight issues that I had with the 7900 iteration of Dura-Ace was that it seemed like the lever required way too much throw before it engaged the rear derailleur. Not so with the new 9000. Shimano has reduced that lever throw by 47%, giving a much more immediate and responsive shifter feel to the front and the rear derailleur. In conjunction with the improvement to the brake levers, the ergonomics there, the actual brakes themselves have also been further refined to improve power and modulation. You get really good immediate actuation and really good modulation beyond that initial grab. But perhaps one of the biggest changes to the brakes is that Shimano is no longer relying on its classic kind of tried and true dual pivot design. Now the pivots sit on both sides of the caliper, giving you much more equal power distribution as you grab the lever. Much of that improved lever feel comes from Shimano having moved the pivot point of the brake a full 5 millimeters forward. With some improved cable routing through the housing, Shimano was able to reduce cable friction by a full 20%. Now, that impressive reduction improves not only the braking feel, but also the smoothness of the shifts as well. To me, the difference really comes down to either the push of a button or the throw of a lever, the latter of which has a really chunky, defined mechanical click, which I can't deny that I love. Downshifting is now noticeably better as well, as a single lever sweep moves through 3 gears at a time. The old 7900 was only able to move through 2 gears at a time with the same lever throw distance. While many of the major improvements to the shifter feel in the rear derailleur were actually executed in the shifter bodies themselves, the front derailleur did get a few marked changes. One of the biggest changes to the front derailleur was the lengthening of its pivot, which now requires a significantly lighter shifter action. It no longer feels like you have to walk the chain from the little ring into the big ring. Climbers will also appreciate the new Dura-Ace front derailleur, as you now get 2 trim positions for each ring, whereas 7900 only had 2 for the inside and a single trim position for the big ring. If you find the perfect cadence in the big ring, even while climbing at lower grades, you'll appreciate the new trim position, as it eliminates any of the audible feedback that you get when cross-chaining. The Cassette is available in 5 familiar options, but you'll enjoy much smoother gear progression as you go from an 11-tooth cog all the way up to 25, or the optional 28-tooth cog. The extra cog does necessitate a slightly wider free hub body, as we've seen with Campagnola's 11-speed group set, but as Campagnola has already sort of set the standard for many major wheel manufacturers, that shouldn't be an issue with the Shimano group set. New for 9000, the Spider is no longer symmetric. As you can see, we've got 4 arms instead of the symmetric 5 from before. These arms are now positioned to support and stiffen the rings in places where that is needed most to get you the most power out of every pedal stroke. With the Crankset now having 4 arms instead of 5, it is a full 50 grams lighter than Dura-Ace 7900, but I didn't find it to be any less stiff. Unlike the Crankset, however, one of the most major changes that Shimano has made to this group set is not visually apparent, and that is with the cables. Both the brake and the shifter cables now have a new inner inside a polymer tube coating that decreases shifter friction and braking friction by 10%. Now that 10% may not seem like much, but the difference is undeniable every time you grab the brake or throw the shifter lever. A contrasting two-tone finish has been applied to every component in the group set, from the rubber on the hoods to the front of the brakes to the crankset itself, where it is immediately apparent. That gives the whole group set a mean post-industrial finish. This 11-speed Dura-Ace 9000 group set is a phenomenal balance of lightness and supreme performance that comes at a fraction of the cost of Dura-Ace Di2. So if you're looking to hang the new 11-speed Dura-Ace 9000 on your next dream machine, or you have any other questions about how it rides or anything I didn't cover in this video, please feel free to give our team of bike experts a call.